Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So a while back, I got some requests talking about, possibly covering Outriders. Some were requests, some were concerns, some were, I don't know how to categorize them. We're just like, if you don't cover Outriders, your channel is going to die. Those kind of weird statements. And, I already have, I think for the most part, made up my mind as to what direction I'll be going with this new release cycle of Outriders. And that direction is quite simple. I don't think I'll be able to cover this game, at the same intensity that I do cover the Division. And by the way, I'll still be making Division videos. I mean, for those of you who are Division agents as well, that's what I want to do, because that's one of the beautiful things about doing YouTube. You make the content that you want to make. That content, basically allows for you to express your own creativity and, pretty much do things because you're passionate about them. And so when you ask me, why aren't you going to be covering Outriders? My answer is not a simple one. There are many things on the table, and I'll go ahead and try to explain them in this video because I feel like I know I do owe you guys who are my audience members who even made those requests. I owe you an explanation because you guys know if you make a single comment here, it literally could span an entire conversation or series of videos. And so I value, the input that you guys bring in, to this particular channel. So let's discuss this real briefly. Now, one of the really cool things about, game coverage on YouTube is, you get to pick the games that you like, the games and the genres that you're passionate about, and you get to play them. One of the things I've noticed about myself is if I play a game that I don't like, there is no way I'm going to come here and sit here and tell you guys that, oh, this game is this or this system is that when I am not passionate about it. There's no way that's going to happen. The Division I am passionate about. In fact, I've spent the past few months pretty much trying to drown out the negativity from the community. And I think largely, a lot of the trolls are not happy with me. They've called me all kinds of names, shill and all that. But that's only solidified my work. That's basically fueled me and continue to drive me to pretty much obliterate a lot of those very weird, I would say, connotations towards the game that don't want to balance the objectivity of both the positive and the negative side. So I decided to take on a journey from March of last year when Warlords of New York was in shambles. And I decided, I'm going to take this approach. I understand that there are different aspects of the game in the Division that could be worked on, but I wanted to just celebrate what was to be celebrated about the game. Unknowingly for me, I didn't even know that what I was doing was setting myself up to understand more about game development. So in all of those discussions, I delved into game development and learning what it will take for me to make a small project. And I can still say till date that Outriders is a work of a miracle. Not even playing the game, I can tell you that the game is already an amazing feat basically dropped. And this is in the face of the Steam reviews pretty much being at only a 56% positive rate. If you look right now, there are people complaining about Outriders back and forth. And I will tell you that it's not a smooth launch. It's a very bumpy launch. It's not as clean as people would have expected. Some people who made all this kinds of, comments saying, oh, Outriders is going to destroy the Division are right now regretting their purchase of Outriders because the game is set up in a way where, though they market it as a game that has a single player aspect, it is still requiring people to be connected to their servers and kicking people out of servers, even at, different levels of progress. This is a problem that, spans across a lot of game development sides of things. And this studio is pretty much just, a baby launching this product. So I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. I've given Tom Clancy's Division 2 the benefit of the doubt. So who's to say that Outriders does not deserve that from me? And this is me personally speaking. So at the end of the day, it doesn't, bring me any pleasure that games, have broken systems or whatever. If anything, I think what it teaches is games are very challenging to execute, and the people who are executing them are doing so regardless and ought to at least be commended on some level. Yes, they need to be criticized, but no need for the over criticism, because at some point, what you're going to find out is people who go in too hard on the negative side of these games eventually become hypocrites because they cannot remain consistent. And so one of the really interesting and challenging aspects of all of this is in going into cover Outriders will mean I'm going to be covering a game that I'm not passionate about, which is one. And so I don't necessarily intend on doing that. And so that's just one side of things. But again, I also got another request after I responded this way saying, why not just do discussion topics on issues surrounding the game? I could, and I think it'll be interesting because I like to come at these, aspects of video games from the perspective of community, perception, reception, looking at data, looking at marketing, looking at game mechanics, especially now where I can look at these mechanics and be like, wow, they probably use this particular mechanic. In fact, I can dissect Outriders so much more. And it's so exciting to want to actually do it. So I can look at the animations, look at a lot of the way they implemented the systems, but I don't think I can for now. I mean, I will be happy to purchase a copy to support the devs. Yes, I said I was going to do that, and I still will. And I'm also willing to also play the game, but only from an instructive perspective. And what I mean by that is the game, having been developed on the Unreal Engine 4, is an instructive game for me as an aspiring developer. You see, I'm working on this whole project, on game development and learning, and I'm using the Unreal Engine 4 as well. So in watching how they implemented different things in their open world, like in this little aspect, this cliff here, you will notice that you can't jump down from the cliff. What they've used is they've used a blocking volume of some kind that prevents you from being able to move any further when you get to the edge of the cliff. You can see the rest of the world, but you cannot actually jump down. You see, I'm being stopped here while I continue to move. It's a system that I actually know how to do. It's just which is really cool and exciting, isn't it? But again, at the same time, I want to continue to work on, the knowledge and the learning. And I think this is the perfect time for me to do so. If at any point I make huge strides in my development project, you will see me making and talking about Outriders, because, it's very relaxing once in a while to kind of look at a video game and how it's doing after launch. It's also inspiring that, something that you're learning and you're picking up is actually being implemented and used in the real world. So that's pretty much my position on that. It's a very exciting thing. In fact, the reason I'm making this video is because as of yesterday, actually as of 2 days ago, I could not implement a system for enemies to damage me. Now, this is something that you would think, you're playing a video game. Enemies ought to be able to just, melt you. They should be able to hit you. But there are different systems at work in these video games. In fact, if I were to maybe say, let's take a little bit of a look at this system here in combat in Outriders, there's a little bit of a cover system, but almost everything is projectile based. And then eventually the enemies, they start to horde and rush you, and then they now become melee based. So Outriders is actually a very solid game from an enemy AI mechanics standpoint, where the enemy AI, they have different kinds. Some of them are melee based, some of them are projectile based, and they have different kinds of projectiles. They use bullets, one of them just threw a grenade. These are things that I used to take for granted when I used to just play video games, but not anymore. To me, they're very difficult to implement, and so I have much more respect for the developers who put them in perspective. And even this effect and this special move, that's an AoE special move and an AoE effect. There are parameters that are in the Unreal Engine that you can use to implement that. I don't know if they use the gameplay ability system to make this game, which is also another big, huge system that's in the Unreal Engine, or maybe they build their own from scratch. But to me, it's looking like they build their own from scratch. But you never know. They're not telling anybody how. But for those of us who are into the, kind of the learning development space, we can basically tell some of these things. So when you kind of put it all together, man, I can say that Outriders, in my opinion, is some sort of a success, because if we put the server issues aside, if we put some of the performance issues aside, which, it's hard to, because there are people going through these different issues, I can say that this team has come to basically change the way games are looked at. They basically come to, they're bringing a different perspective to shooters and looter shooters by actually doing stuff like this. And I think it's quite exciting for them. But even as that is exciting, I strongly still believe that the only and best way I can gain value from this game is from playing it from an instructional perspective. So basically combing and fine combing through the experience in order to, basically develop my own self and develop my own expertise. Now, I could share that experience with you over the next few weeks. Who knows? Maybe if I continue to make strides, get my health and enemy damage systems in place. And by the way, I finally figured out how to do it with the melee-based system. Doing it with the projectile system is also not difficult, because I can use the same actors to do it if I wanted to. So I'm quite excited, and that's why I'm making this video, because I finally can take a break, because I actually checked that off the box. And so once I get back again into it, I have like maybe 6 or 7 more major tasks to actually work on in the next few weeks. If I'm able to knock them out within 2 weeks, great. You hear me talking about Outriders, and if I can't, then you're going to see me silent on the game, but I will be playing, because I got to learn what the heck it is that they've been able to do. As much as the game may not impress some other people, or as much as I may not sound as impressed as a lot of other content creators, don't get me wrong, even though I try not to show my excitement, it's an impressive, game in my own perspective nonetheless. But that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Teach me something. You might know something about this game that I don't. You might be enjoying something in the game that you feel like I would, even from a development or even from a gaming perspective or mechanics perspective that you want for me to check out, and I'll be happy to check it out as well. Thank you very much for your time and audience. I appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully, we'll talk in another one. Peace out.